Welcome to the Chuck-n-Deb Show, heard each Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. here on 1490 AM WWPR. And now, here's Chuck and Deb.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
And Deb.
And welcome to Biker Life Radio. We're truly grateful and thankful that you joined us today. We have a fantastic show lined up just for you. So stay tuned as we get started.
So, Biker Life Radio is all about those who are inspired to ride and those who inspire others to ride. We will reveal the truth behind the motorcycle mystique and the real-life stories that help you discover your purpose, achieve true freedom, and define your destiny.
All right, that sounds excellent, Deb. Let's go ahead, get the kickstands up, and rev this show on.
Absolutely. So today's show is sponsored by Toni and Guy Hairdressing Academy out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So if you are ready to crank up the engines, put the chins to the wind and the knees to the breeze.
All right, here we go. We're rolling on.
Rolling on. So we did actually get out and do a little bit riding this past weekend. Do you want to talk about that?
Fortunately, we actually did. We did actually get out. It's hard to believe because it has been raining endlessly for days, if not maybe weeks.
Maybe a month or longer. It has been torrential every single day.
It's just not normal for Florida to rain like that, for us to have rain ongoing like that, and the ground is just totally soaked. You can't even mow the lawns. And so it's really tough to, I mean, our lawn is actually real high right now.
We should be getting violation letters.
Yeah,
or
we're going to get some letters from the HOA, no doubt. I'm waiting on that. So, but yeah, it's just, but that, there's nothing you can do about it. When it rains for basically 2 weeks straight.
Oh, it's probably, I think it's been 6 between the morning rains and the afternoon rains. It's not normal rainy season around here with the afternoon showers into the evening. It's been off and on all day long. So just the fact that we were able to find a glimpse of time to roll the motorcycles out and get on the road without it raining was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was a real blessing. I actually needed to get out and ride. I just felt the need to get on my bike and go. And it was great to be able to get out and do that. We just made a window. We just got out there and decided to do it. And what I loved about the whole ride is I got to be in charge.
You love that.
Yeah, I got to be the front lead bike this time, because it's just Deb and I. So we stop and we have to check our tire pressure because we haven't been out in a while. We would recommend that you be sure to check your tire pressure often as well, because that's one thing our mechanic gets on us, or at least me, quite about, is being sure that we check the tire pressure, because it's going to make your tires last longer, number one, and then it's also going to keep you safer while you're on the road. So Be sure to check your tire pressure often. Especially if your bike's been sitting in the, the garage or wherever it sits for a while. Maybe it's sitting in your living room.
Yep. Well, it could be on the back porch, on the lanai. There's all sorts of places to keep that precious piece of cargo. So
there you go. So anyway, we decided to pull over at a gas station and go ahead and get that checked out. Needed to fuel up, check the tire pressures. And boy, Debs, I've got to work on this. Yours is really hard to be able to get that rear tire full of air. I've got to figure out something.
Right. With all the mechanisms around it and all the chrome covers and all that sort of stuff, it's always a struggle, and I noticed that, but I really needed air, so I am so glad that you chose to do that with some of that hand signaling on the road. And
yeah, of course.
I was confused and still didn't know, but then I realized where we were moving towards, so I go, okay, it must be the gas station.
Well, I'm pointing at the front wheel, I'm pointing at the gas tank, and I'm pointing turn up the road.
Yeah,
I don't know how more
points.
difficult it could do.
Yeah, I know. Point here, point there, just figure it out.
So here's my favorite part about the whole ride. This is great. Are you gonna pitch in and talk about the it was a small ride. I mean, we went a little over 50 miles, but we actually got out. So.
It was small mileage wise, but we were really out for about an hour and a half after I looked at everything when we got back. So yeah, it was a nice ride. Good. Most of the times it's about picking a destination to go to, and we had a little bit of conversation before that, threw several things out into the air, but ultimately we ended up nowhere. We just rode back home. So I thought it was a great afternoon.
Because the whole thing was that you wanted to go somewhere. That's what you said. You had something in mind, and all I wanted to do is go ride. I really didn't even want to go stop anywhere, even though I could go for something to eat, because I'm always ready to eat.
Absolutely. That's a biker life, I think.
That's right. So anyway, here's my favorite part, and then you know, because I'm taking over as always, right?
No,
you know, I've always got these listeners that are saying, "Hey, there was one last week. Somebody chimed in and said, oh, that was that one listener. What's his name?
I don't know. Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin." He's texted something over during the middle of the show, and he says something. Oh, I thought you were going to let Deb take control of the show, or something smart ass like that. Anyway,
well, yeah,
I hope we can say that on the radio.
You can. That's a good one.
All right, thank goodness. So anyway, I'll here we are. So we get back on the road, and I decide I'm going to take control.
Yep.
And I start heading which direction, Deb?
East.
And what's out east?
Oh, thunder clouds. All that rain we said we were missing, I just started to panic. And I'm riding, and I'm like, just be in the ride, be in the moment.
No.
As I know we're heading toward this really dark gray clouds. And that's not it. You can watch the rain raining out east. It's kind of crazy.
I doubt that you just tried to kick back and accept the ride as it is.
Yeah.
I really, really find that a little bit hard to believe, but I'll take you.
Yeah, I tried. That's the key word, tried.
Okay.
I tried.
So here we are. We're heading east right into the rain clouds that nobody wants to go in. Well, I have a purpose of where I'm going. And so we get out there, and sure enough, the place that I want to go is something that we want to check out that we can, you know, while we're out on the road, it would be wise to go and take a look at things.
Yep.
So as we go out there, and I apologize if I'm having to pause in between these because I've got a sore throat, and maybe you can hear it. But I'm here for you, even though I'm suffering.
Suffering, no man.
Make sure you feel sorry for Chuck again, okay? Because you know, not only do I have to deal with Deb every day, I've got to have to deal with this poor sore throat stuff.
You're playing the sympathy card an awful lot these days, Chuck. Come on, buck it up, man. Let's go.
I just like people, you know, always saying to me, "Well, hope you feel better." Now it's becoming commonplace, and I'm not sure why people are saying that all the time.
So you're feeling great, and we were out east, and what happened when we got there? Let's get back to the story.
Rained. Well, actually, it didn't rain.
It was sprinkling.
So I felt it would pass. But you were like, no, we're not stopping.
Really?
I don't want to get wet.
I don't want to be in the rain. And so, of course, you're encouraging us to go further, deeper in to where we see the rainstorms. And I'm like, no, let's not do that.
There was no rains. I wouldn't go when I saw the rains up the road. Now, if we would have kept going straight out up on 64, if we would have kept going further east, I could see the rain up the road, but there was no rain in where we were going, and it would have probably taken 5 or 10 minutes. No. And my thought was all we really needed to do was just find a tree or something to park under until it passed.
And that's what you did. And I'm out there in the sprinkles going, what are you doing, dude? And you said, oh, I found a tree to sit under while it passes. Okay, great. Love it.
So that's when you got upset. She got out of out of shape.
Yeah.
So then we headed back, and that's the whole
we did a roundabout way. So, no, then I got to take over as lead rider.
Did you take over, or did I allow you to?
I took over, dang it. That's what happened.
I'm just kidding, guys.
So we head back toward town, and we just kind of took some back roads, zigzagged around, saw a bunch of new construction and all sorts of stuff going on. And, you know, it was a good probably 50, if not 75 mile an hour ride, but it was nice. It was just a ride. And by the time I got out riding, I didn't want to go anywhere for anything either. I just wanted to ride. I was enjoying the time.
Well, it was about time, because when you took over, I was like, okay, where's she going to take us? Because she had this destination in mind. But sure enough, she didn't really take us anywhere, and we ended back at home, and everything was good.
I surprised you.
Yeah,
you can say that. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah, and it was funny because as it's still in the garage, all down I don't know if you noticed the driveway the other day. All that mud that was on the back of my motorcycle tire was tracked down along the road as we pulled out.
Yeah, and I think I saw some on the carpet in one of the rooms, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep,
so the rain hasn't been very kind to us. But anyway, that was a nice little break. So we did get out, and we did ride, and we intend on riding some more.
Absolutely.
We actually, last week, we were intended to ride. We were intended to be, we did go to Stottlemeyer's.
We did end up going to Stottlemeyer's.
That was on Thursday last week. And again, that show was rained out. But They invited us to come down anyway, so we went down to Stottlemeyer's. The band was excellent. We got to see a lot of good people, Ryan and Heather, and we got to see Scott from Harley Davidson, and Terry and Lori and Mark. It was great to see them. And, of course, West Coast Florida Riders and everybody that was there, Chris and Lee. And so it was nice. It was nice to hang out. And then we met a new guy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we always meet new people out, right? We always try to make friends because that's what we like to do.
Well, we made some friends and not so good friends that night. It was a little off and on. So
that would be friend.
Yeah, friend Boyd. So we definitely have to mention Boyd. Boyd was awesome.
Yeah, Boyd.
The one thing that's funny about us is we're not really big on asking others to move seats so the two of us can sit together. But from what you described to me is that Boyd actually made that offer when he knew there were two of us. And
no, that would be a pet peeve of mine that you just mentioned, and that's a whole no show.
Okay.
We'll do a whole show on that.
Okay.
No, but what happened was I went up and I got our seats. So I sat down. We had 3 seats open. So I sat down so that left your seat right next to me.
Yep.
And then one over to the left.
Okay.
So what Boyd did is he just sat down right next to me.
Oh.
I mean, I'm in that approachable,
Yeah.
So, but what I said, hey, I just had to turn to ask him, and hey, do you mind? I expected my wife, and she was going to sit there, and he was really cool about it. He's like grumpy at first. He sort of threw me the bird and slipped up. No, he didn't.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a minute.
But, of course, it was sort of, you just got settled in. I didn't want him to get too settled in. Then that would have been harder.
Yeah, don't get comfortable, man, because I'm going to ask you to move over.
Yeah. So he was real kind about that. And he actually, I would like to say that Boyd, what did I call him that night? He was your
rock.
No, he was my ground. He was keeping
right.
me grounded that night because
thank goodness.
We did have quite a bit we did.
Yes.
I can't say me.
Yes, it was
us. It was we. It involved us.
Yes.
It involved Chuck-n-Deb.
Of course.
And so we went up. We went over. We waited for the band to stop playing so that we could go greet our friends and say hello to some people. And we left. Now, Deb and what?
Before we left, we made sure that we checked in with the bartender and said, hey, we've got to go say hi to a few friends. So I want to let you know that we're going to take off, but we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to leave our drinks and a few things. So please just don't let anyone take our seats.
Basically, it was just giving the bartender heads up that, hey, we're leaving. We're going to go out, talk to some people. Exactly what I said to him. We're going to go out and talk to some people while the band's on break. We'll be right back. I just wanted to let you know.
Yep.
And then we asked Boyd, hey, Boyd, could you keep an eye on the things here before we go? Now, one thing, I guess we had a miscommunication because I thought you were going to take the money that was out on the bar.
Yeah. It was several $1 bills on a clip, and I figured as long as I put whatever I was drinking on top of that was very clear that we're there.
Yeah,
we're not
but
going
who leaves
anywhere
money sitting around?
With a drink on top with stuff in it, I would think that made sense.
Well, you would think
it wasn't an empty
it's
bottle.
money and money sitting around anyway. So, and it was more than a few dollars, by the way. So it was a little bit more than that.
Sure.
Anyway, so there we go. We go out and greet everybody, get to see some people, had a good time, good conversations, and we come back. And guess what?
The money's gone. The drink's
gone. The money's gone. Yeah, your drink is gone, which was about a full drink because you just got that one. I had
just gotten it. Right.
And so we're like, what in the world is going on?
Is that a WTF moment? Because for me, it was
it would be a WTF.
Yeah.
And Boyd's like, oh, man, I tried to catch him. I turned around and it's gone.
He said I couldn't even begin to say
stop or anything.
Hey.
So Boyd was cool about it. It was great. No problem with Boyd whatsoever. But this bartender who we're not going to really call out, we're just going to call him Mr. T.
Yes, Mr. T.
Mr. T.
That's a good one.
So Mr. T, I called Mr. T over, and it's hard to get Mr. T. Matter of fact, there was something that happened prior to Mr. T even coming over because before we even left for the break, remember we asked, because Boyd was telling us about this great appetizer they had and said, this is what you should get, because we were talking to Boyd, hey, what do you recommend? Have you been here before? And he hangs out there quite often.
Yep.
And he was from the Inglewood area, so he actually drove a little ways to come up there and check it out.
I don't know. I think he stays kind of in that area, but he does travel from. Yes, he does that for a living, and but he had been there a few times and definitely had a great food recommendation recommendation. Bikers food, we all go together. So we bring Mr. T over, and I'm going to call him T for Tasmanian.
Hold on just a second. So, but before that, that's right. Go ahead.
Tasmanian
I want to make
Devil
sure we're
Boy.
talking about the same thing.
He was whirlwinding around, running that bar like a maniac, like he needed to count steps for a week on his Fitbit. But anyway.
Well, he's probably trying to provide good service, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Fast service. Go ahead.
Fast, maybe. So he came over. We asked about that appetizer, and he just quickly said no, turned around, and it's gone before you can even ask about anything else on the menu. So that was a little bit of a frustration. I'm like, dang, dude, I'm trying to get, I'm trying to find food here and do what we need to do. So that was the first
very, very short
off
with this.
Yes.
I mean, there could have been another way. No, I'm sorry. That's not on the menu tonight. That's just something we're not carrying tonight. I apologize. Or I can go, like I think even Boyd said, or go see if we can, I can check to see if they'll be able to make that for you.
Right. Or what I might recommend in its place would be this, there's ways to serve in a whole better way. But
at the same time, we always have to take a look at the other side.
Sure.
There's people, he's busy. He's probably, we're not his only customers, even though we might think we are.
No.
But we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back because you're going to want to hear the rest of this story.
If you're looking to either sell or buy a home in the Bradenton, North River area, contact Deb Bell to help make your dreams come true at Reynolds Realty. Call Deb Bell, 941-713-5035. That's 941-713-5035, or online at parishfl.com. For all of your real estate needs, call Deb Bell.
This is Deb, and welcome back. We need to kind of wrap this up because, we're going to be back out there tomorrow night, and I want to be sure that everybody has a good sense of a fun bike night that they're going to have for sure. So we just had a little bit of a less than desirable experience with Mr. T. And again, I think the story there is we went to see our friends. We returned, and I think at that point everyone was saying, well, what happened? Because Boyd couldn't catch him. He takes the money, he takes the drink, and we're like, oh my gosh, now what? So go ahead.
Yeah, so anyway, if you're just joining us, we were at
Stottlemeyer's Smokehouse for a bike night that was scheduled but then was canceled because of rain and all sorts of stuff.
So we're at the bar. We decided to take a quick break, and then we come back and our money and drinks gone, even after we just told the bartender that we're going to go visit some people and we'll be right back.
Right.
So Boyd, again, he tells us, hey, I tried to do all I could, before I turned around, it's gone with your drink and your money. So I call the bartender over and I say, hey, what happened to all the money, all the drink? And he just sort of stares at me. He goes, well, I didn't know.
I thought you left.
Now, he could have hit me in the face, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's the way it felt. It felt like I just got hit in the face because I just stood there no more than 5, maybe 10 minutes before and told the guy I was leaving and I would be right back. Okay?
Yes.
So that was like him hitting me in the face because it was a lie.
Right.
And I don't like lies.
No, that's a pet peeve, another pet peeve. So we won't go there.
That's when I said to him, hey, look, dude, I just got through telling you that we're going to leave.
Right.
And he's just standing there speechless.
Right.
And all I could do was stare through his head, keeping myself on the other side of the bar because I'm a really nice guy
that just wants to jump over and strangle this guy.
I mean, I just didn't understand it.
Right.
And like you said, we're not trying to throw a bad taste in anybody's mouth or say anything bad about what happens. Actually, it was our responsibility.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take responsibility for our end of things. What we could have done differently was, number one, take the money. I don't know if that would have changed things or made it worse. You'd have probably still ended up taking the beer.
Well, I could have taken my beer with me, and that would have, again, I'll
and
take
then
full
our seats would have been
responsibility.
gone.
We could have tilted the seats. We could have tried something different.
I tilted the seats.
Oh, and I had stuff on mine.
You had
and I
stuff
thought that
on yours
was
with
very
our backpack
visibly,
on it. That was another obvious telltale sign.
Right.
Anyway.
I don't know. But yeah.
I'm not trying to get real agitated all over again in case you listeners are hearing that. But it was, I would say it was disappointing. However, the story does get better.
It does get better.
Because, as he owns up to what he just did.
Right.
I think he said, well, what did he say? Something about the money back or something or
the
whatever.
Next round's on me or whatever.
No, he didn't say that, I
be.
don't think. He said something, well, I'll give you $18 or something. And so what I did, he took off again.
Right.
And he's out doing his thing. Finally, I get him back to come over. I said, here's the deal. Go ahead and get her the drink that you took back. Get me a drink, and we'll call it even.
Yep.
Okay? So guess what? I said, okay, sounds fair. I stuck my hand out, shook his hand. It's a deal. So it's all done. So I really shouldn't even be standing here crying and whining about it.
Stop it, man.
But it was just an event that took place, and it's just one of those things. I don't even know why we're sharing it with you guys.
I don't know, because this stuff happens in real life. But, I do have to kudos to Boyd, because Boyd was
because
your
I guess that's why that's coming out, because
back.
that's what I said to Boyd. I'm like, because Boyd's just sitting over there, nice, cool, calm. He's
cool
relaxing.
cat.
He's having a good time. He's enjoying the band. And I could see myself getting angry. And then what did I do, Deb? I went over to Boyd. I think I put my arm around him. I go, Boyd, you're my ground.
And I'm sorry for touching you, but you're my ground.
Did I say that to him?
I don't, because some people just aren't as comfortable with a touch like that, and you don't know anybody. It's a new person, new friend, right. And so it's like, I'm sorry, I'm touching you, but Boyd, you're my ground. And I'm like,
so that's
goodness.
really what we're telling the story for, is to really to tell you a little bit about how Boyd got the ground label or whatever.
He's the ground.
And he really did ground. He took me out of it, and we sort of discussed it and talked about it.
We actually had a pretty philosophical talk after that about life philosophies and things like that. So it was a really cool way to segment it.
Just give us an idea what that was about, some of those.
Well, he was saying, you can't let those type of things ruffle you, and you just got to let things fall off your shoulders, and told a little bit about his background and what he currently does and the things that he sees. And, the music just kind of is something that soothes his soul. And, again, I just kind of had the opportunity to get to know him a little bit deeper, because he shared some of his personal values and beliefs about things like that in life. And at our age, we just don't need to let that stuff ruffle our feathers. That's for darn sure.
So he was definitely the ground, and he's a fantastic guy. We look forward to seeing him again. So shout out to you, Boyd. Thanks for saving us from catastrophe.
You saved me from catastrophe, because I would have had to ride home with him in that state of mind. That would not have been fun. So thank you, Boyd.
Anyway, it was all made right, so Mr. T did good. In fact, Deb, I think he brought you another beer at the end of the night.
He did, at the very end. I was getting ready to get up. We were starting to say goodbye, and next thing I know, another beer pops down, and I'm like, okay, I guess I got to drink this one too.
Now, let me ask you something, because I didn't think about this when we're leaving, so I'm hoping that we didn't make a mistake. There was no receipt on the paper clip, was there?
No.
Okay.
No receipt, just
because
money.
So that was all taken care of.
That
I got to thinking about it after the
clip.
fact. Did we now leave and not pay for something we should have paid for, but it was all taken care of, right?
It was all taken care of, yes, as far as I'm aware. So
all right. So we want to encourage everybody while we're here. We're going to be out at Stottlemeyer's. At least that's the plan, tomorrow night.
Yes, because the other big news is what we are waiting for is that phone call of excitement that he's coming, I'm in labor. Hasn't happened yet. So the doctor's appointment this week said, okay, who knows what's going to happen? He's going to come whenever he wants to come. But they did actually schedule the inducement of her labor on Tuesday next week. So if by chance he does not choose to arrive before then, on Tuesday we'll maybe get to see her. Wednesday I'll get to see our grandson, Alexander. Okay. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And I think you are too. All right.
I'm ready to get,
It's been a long 9 months. Yeah, we're ready to meet him face to face and hug him.
So that's going to be good. So we plan on being out there Thursday night. It is, there is shower in the forecast, rain in the forecast.
I think a little bit smaller percentage, though, in the past week. So I'm hoping that it will come early in the day, let it dry out, and we'll have a great event that evening on Thursday, tomorrow night. So be sure and come see us if you can.
Yep, and maybe Boyd will be out there. Boyd, if you're listening, we'd love to see you again, brother.
That's right. So moving on, I just want to get back to the one thing that we talked about recently is, we talk about the motorcycle mystique. And I think when I really think about the motorcycle mystique before I became a rider, I actually watched some of that motorcycle mystique happen to you as we started to ride with a group. Now, we've had friends that have now become friends over the years, but in the beginning, they were a little intimidated by you, Chuck. And again, again, I know you're
I'm
laughing.
a very nice person.
You are, absolutely, but it's just the mystique, I think. We wore our motorcycle vests for a long time in the early days. And again, anyone ever wear a vest, they're a great tool for riding. They got lots of pockets and lots of things. Yep. And so there was a purpose about why we rode with our vests. But I think just the vests, just the fact that you're not a small, petite little guy,
I'm not.
No, you're not. But
I'm no skinny boy dude.
You're no tiny baby dude.
That was for specifically someone out there, by the way.
Yes, a listener that is what, skinny boy dude? Is that what you call?
That's what he goes by. I think that's his biker name.
You're Slims.
Either that or second place. I can't really remember. He's got so many that he goes by. His vest is plastered with all these nicknames.
All these names. It just goes down the whole left side or right side, whatever.
Yeah, I think one of his name is nickname.
Nickname. That's a little crazy.
Whatever. I'm not that funny.
Kind of going back to that concept about motorcycle mystique is that, it's a mystery that everybody has a little bit of a different perception of who and what a biker is. And, how did that make you feel when people, because they shared very openly, oh, I was intimidated by you at first, or I'm so glad that, we're friends now because I didn't know what to think about you in the beginning. So, did that impact you at all with that motorcycle mystique?
It's exactly what I wanted them to think.
Okay. But then you let your guard
not.
down. I know. Look at you laughing over there. Goodness gracious. I don't think so. It's who you are, and just that power, as you've been told, that just kind of resonates with you. And, it is who you are. But people sometimes perceive or their outward appearance of what they see makes up their mind of what they believe is true. And it may not always be accurate.
Well, you're exactly right. And that's, excuse me, I hope my voice is sounding right.
You're sounding sexy, baby.
I'm sounding sexy. Well, I am drinking Throat Coat in my Sturgis Motorcycle Classic coffee cup. So I would rather have something a little bit more potent in it, but I do need to make sure that I do sound sexy for everyone out there. Well, not sexy. Actually, I don't want to sound sexy because this is a motorcycle
That's right.
show.
You're a badass biker
That's right.
dude. So how did that motorcycle mystique impact you, Mr. Throat Coat?
It goes back to, part of the reason we founded the show and decided to get the show started is because what we found is that people have a lot of different misconceptions about bikers and the biker community and everything that's out there. And it's mostly based on what they've seen in the movies and that kind of thing.
Right.
But they really don't know all the good that motorcyclists do. And really, there might be that small 1% out there that might be doing whatever 1%ers do. Okay. So what it really is doing is you're judging somebody before you know them.
Right.
And we all do that. That's just something part of what people do, I believe, naturally, because you've always got to check out your situation, your surroundings, or at least you need to be, because I don't know what we were watching the other day. We were at the officer that we had was talking about how to watch your surroundings and all that stuff. So we had a little educational seminar that we were at where this deputy was telling us about being observant about all that. And he's the one that actually said this. So I think I might be stealing his words. Yeah, I think he said because we all judge people.
Right.
Yeah. So I might be stealing his words and not even knowing it. But everybody looks at somebody and they need to sort of, I don't know if sizing up somebody is the right word, or have a perception in their own mind.
You got to make sense of it, I think. We just have to make sense of it for our own mind so that we can, it's that fight or flight kind of a thing. So do I embrace where I'm at or what's going on, or do I just kind of put my guard up and be a little hesitant?
And let's be honest. I mean, for one thing, when people meet me or see me, I don't say a lot.
No, you're a pretty quiet guy.
I don't say a lot. I'll smile and I'll laugh a lot, but in between all that, I've just got, maybe I might look like I have a frown on my face, maybe, or I'm trying to look harsh or something. So you've got to look at the other side of it. So if I'm not saying anything, because I am pretty quiet, if you don't know me, until you get to know me, well, then I don't really say a whole lot. But, but maybe when you get to know me, I talk a little bit more. But it does take me a little while to warm up to people, so I could be perceived a certain way, and that could be my fault as well. So it could be the way that I'm carrying myself, and I'm not being friendly enough.
Sure.
So, but I guess what you're talking about is how, at least one or two of our friends or somebody that we know says, oh, yeah, I remember the first time I saw you, I thought you were one of those badass biker dudes or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Is that the exact words?
That's pretty close to the words that were used.
And then it goes on because, that's the first time that I've ever heard this, and that's happened a couple of times, like you say.
Right.
And so, but it's followed by something.
Yep.
So, but then what I found out was you're just a great big teddy bear, right? So I love hearing that. And so all of us is that way. So, you don't want to, the old saying goes, don't read a book by its cover.
Right.
Or read a book by its cover. I don't know. Maybe
and read it cover to cover, something like that.
Speaking of book, we'll come back to that, right?
Yep.
So, we all do it, and so I don't have a problem with it, but our whole idea is to expose that maybe what you see, what you believe is not necessarily true.
Right.
And we've got a segment that's going to come up here in just a minute that's going to show you and talk to you about some of the good that bikers do.
They are a great group of people that really have a big heart and really embrace charities in many different ways and want to share and give back to the community.
So did you have anything that you wanted to follow up on with this that you asked me about that you got started? Because we got to take off to a break here.
No, I wanted to address, we talk about that in our opening about the motorcycle mystique, and it's real life happened to you. So I just wanted you to share a little bit about that mystique with our listeners because, I know many of the listeners, especially if they're not a rider, probably have a mystique in mind about motorcyclists or bikers in that term. So I just wanted to kind of talk about it. That's all.
Okay, so come right back. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to tell you some of the good things that motorcyclists do, and we're going to diminish the motorcycle mystique. Stay tuned.
Our sponsor today is Toni and Guy Hairdressing Academy. If you desire to be a leader in this fast-growing cosmetology industry, then contact Toni and Guy Hairdressing Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado at 719-390-9898. Again, 719-390-9898, or visit coloradosprings.tonyguy.edu. For more information about Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Toni and Guy Hairdressing Academy, call 208-930-1276. Again, that number is 208-930-1276, or visit them at coeurdalene.tonyguy.edu, or visit the Chuck-n-Deb Show sponsor page for more information.
All right, welcome back. We're so grateful and thankful that you're still tuning in. We really appreciate that. All right, we left and we talked about how we were going to give you some information on bikers doing good. That's a segment that we do as often as we can on the show. And just real quickly, there was a bike event that took place in Utah. And it was for 145 fallen officers, and it was the ride. Well, that was the name of it. It was the Ride for Falling Officers, and it was. It's actually an annual event, so it's held every year, and it's a way to remember all the falling officers that have passed on, and to raise money to maintain a memorial located at the Utah State Capitol, and to provide immediate relief for falling officers and their families.
Okay.
So what it did is it brought people together from all walks of life, all coming together for a common good, and having a charitable mindset and an honorable attitude in mind. And they were there to celebrate and appreciate these great men and women who actually gave their lives in service for others. And so, I took a look at the video, and the video there's 4 lanes, guys. 4 lanes of bikers. Now, of course, the law enforcement took off. They headed it up at first, and they had a pretty big entourage, okay? And then you followed up with the bikers that were there to support the fallen officers. Yeah. There were 4 lanes staggered. There was a formation in one lane and another formation in another lane, so it's like 4 wide. Wow. It was just too cool. And this went on. The video played, I think, like for 9 minutes. I think. Wow. And so that tells you there was thousands of bikers out supporting this event, and there were thousands of citizens lined up along the streets supporting those bikers. So it really was a great tribute for our law enforcement officers. And there you go, people. That's the biker community out giving back, appreciating the law enforcement, because we appreciate the amazing men and women of law enforcement for all they do for our community. So that's just something you need to know about. So
shout out to bikers doing good, because that is a true representation.
Keep on
of
doing
that.
good, bikers. And we're going to have more of that coming. We're working on some things ourselves, because the biker community is a fantastic charitable community that really does a lot for your community, whether you know it or not. And those that are in the community, you know it.
Absolutely. And you'll want to be sure and stay tuned, because we were invited to an event next month, which we will be sure and give everyone lots of heads up for. It's a great charitable event, and we're going to be sure and make sure that we announce it. I want to move on quickly now to Moto in the news. We've been talking a lot about the live wire, which is kind of getting all of the attention in the electric motorcycle world, but there was an announcement this past week in a 3dprintingindustry.com magazine, and there is a brand new, a couple years old, not necessarily brand new, but a motorcycle company called Curtis Motorcycle Company, and they're unveiling the Zeus 8, which is an electric motorcycle that will be hitting the market next year, 2020. What's cool about that particular...
because now you're doing 3D something. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sounds interesting.
They actually are using 3D printed parts. What? And if you go out and look at it at all, I'll give you the website when we're all said and done, but this is actually considered to be a naked hot rod. And when I tell you a little bit about the construction, that'll make all sorts of sense.
Okay, because I'm curious. I like that word.
Naked? Yeah.
Easy does it.
All right. Simmer down over there, big guy. So the Curtis Motorcycle Company was founded in 2018, and their mission is to create sustainable, desirable, integrated, green and clean mean motorcycle machines.
Okay.
Woo, okay. So the little bit of the detail is their frame for this motorcycle is going to be a mixture of titanium and chrome tubular, as well as some aluminum. So again, they're trying to keep it as lightweight as possible. It's going to have a 62-inch wheelbase, ground clearance of 9.5 inches, and a seat height of 27.5 inches, with a peak output in the engine of 217 horsepower. Woo!
So it's load to the road is what it sounds like.
Yes. And it's sleek, and it's a little bit long, and it's going to go like crazy.
But
here's the real thing of it all. So it's modestly priced, they say, at $75,000.
Modestly priced. Well, that's no problem.
Sure, yeah. Let's get 2 live wires and another motorcycle in the garage.
Well, they're the ones that got to send it to us so that we can do a review on it anyway.
Absolutely.
So
we have to do a test ride for them. So
we'll need that one for months, I think.
Yes, I agree. I didn't really have the opportunity to read much in the way. Their website's pretty stripped down, clean looking. So I didn't really get an opportunity to read much about its charging and you do, really any comparisons with the live wire, which I think it has none to compare with the live wire. Totally different animal, totally different breed, but I thought that was really impressive to read because it just popped out in the news last week, this information about Curtis Motorcycle Company, and you can find them at curtismotorcycles.com if you'd like to learn more.
Very interesting. So they actually used a 3D printer to make the parts.
Yes, some of them, they said. Yes, using a 3D printed parts. Now, they didn't tell us which ones.
So, but see, that sounds a little bit different because it's not a 3D printer as in paper. They just have a 3D machine that cuts out the metals or whatever.
Right.
I forget there's a special machine that's
CNC
called.
Machine.
There you go.
How
like
I know that, I'll never share.
But isn't that the same? I mean, why would they say it's a printer?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
3D printer.
I don't know. I don't know if the normal CNCs are linear.
Maybe they use 3D technology or something?
Could possibly be. I'm not quite sure.
I guess we just need to keep to educate us, or
right.
maybe one of our
learning
listeners will tell us
what that really means.
Maybe. Quite
we thought it was
interesting,
cool
though.
info, cool moto in the news stuff to share. So there you go.
Bike sounds cool. I haven't seen the picture, but I would sure like to be able to do that. Maybe we could put that up on our page or
Sure,
something?
we'll put that. I'll definitely do that
at
because
least
it
a
is
link
kind of
to
a
it,
wide
so.
open, low riding, long looking, just very raw, naked as they described it. I would agree.
Oh,
It's
but
pretty
now what was the
naked.
reason? Oh, okay, because all the descriptions you gave was why it's naked.
Yeah, it doesn't really. Everything's not enclosed in this, and it's just got a single solo seat. And you'll see once we post the picture, it's pretty naked. So compared to
All right.
most motorcycles,
Sounds good.
Yep.
What else you got? Anything right now?
that's
to
what
do
I
with
have
that?
as moto in the news. Did you have anything to add to that one?
I actually did, which I thought was pretty cool. I stumbled across this, that Harley Davidson actually submitted a patent to, which was published on August 15th that indicates that it's going to develop a group riding-based cruise control. I'm sorry, I lost the main route.
Cruise control for
Yep,
group riding.
riding-based cruise control. So you know how these days, and we haven't probably been in a new car. I don't think yours does it. But there's certain cruise controls out there where you can set it on cruise control, and it'll actually
Slow and speed
slow
up
down.
and all that stuff. Yes,
Yep,
my car
go-
does that.
Oh,
by
it
the way.
does?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And when it gets too close to the one in front of it, it beep,
Okay.
beep, 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 or whatever. Yeah. does
So,
all
yeah,
that
it
stuff.
appears that Harley Davidson's taken a unique approach towards this adaptive cruise control to keep its riding group aspect at the top of what they do. And what I mean by that is, Harley Davidson, when you go with Harley Owners Group,
Right.
they ride in groups quite a bit.
Correct.
And that's what a lot of Harley owners do is there's a lot of us that are lone wolves out there, but there's also a lot of us that ride in groups. And so that's what they're setting this up for they're actually looking down the road, if you can believe it or not, to actually get more customers who might be leaning toward that so that, they have a feature that they could offer to them on their bikes in order to help them ride in a group.
I think that's pretty phenomenal because so many times you see a new motorcyclist that's really excited, goes out and buys a new motorcycle, and then, 6 months later, a year later, it's available for sale with 3,000 miles on it. And what that tells me is that probably it did not become part of their lifestyle. And it's hard for that to be the case if you're a new rider and or in a new location and out wanting to do that lone wolf thing. It's really easiest. And I recommend to a lot of the people that I talk to, go learn in a group, go ride with a group, figure out some of the lays of the land, and then you can make new friends, either ride as a separate group moving forward or, go out and venture on your own. So it really does create kind of that lifestyle. So I think you're right. Harley Davidson and or the Harley Owners Group is really forward thinking for riders and really keeping people more connected to their motorcycle once they buy it. I think that's a cool thing.
I think the Hog chapter is basically like a marketing arm of Harley is one way to look at it.
Right.
So, and that's interesting. So, they've got this adaptive cruise control. And excuse me, again, my throat's bothering me a little bit. So the system not only detects the vehicle ahead, but it can also detect when there's another vehicle or more than one vehicle in the lane. For the group riding situation. So here's sort of how it works. It adjusts the speed to the vehicle that's in front of you in order to maintain a certain speed. Okay. So, and what you could do is they actually, I guess it actually uses like radar or laser or camera, can use all these things. But what it does is the rider actually can set the space. So that big argument that Jim used to get into with everybody.
Always a conversation, 2-second rule.
Right. Is it the 2-second rule? So
and that's
so maybe,
what I was going to ask.
Maybe that argument could be settled, but there's going to be a way apparently that you can space yourself. And here's the really, really cool thing about it. I want to make sure I try to get everything here. But the really cool thing about it is you can link motorcycles. So the motorcycle in front of you could be linked to another one. So you're all convoyed or linked in
Kinda
or
daisy-chained.
in.
Yep.
Yeah, you're chained in. You're linked in. And so you could actually hook it on the main lead bike. And so when the lead bike moves, the rest of them move. And then it's all in tune. And so if you're passing a car and you go around a car, well, you're going to be notified bike or your bike's going to take the appropriate action to be able to do that. So it's really going to be a cool feature, especially riding in groups, obviously.
Right. And then you'll have a motorcycle like us in the middle maybe that doesn't have the ability to link, and then that throws it all out of whack. There's a lot of questions that kind of raises for me. But go ahead, finish it
Yeah,
up.
so it just locks onto a designated motorcycle in a staggered formation. Excuse me a second. Go ahead and talk as my throat.
Okay,
here.
and that's kind of cool. The one thing for group riding for me that's really a huge pet peeve is that person that leaves that big gap, which then creates kind of an unsafe riding environment for a group. So I would hope that this adaptive tool doesn't give that person that's a little bit more reserved in their riding style the ability to adjust it that way. So again, just I start to get intrigued and learn a little bit more. And go ahead.
Well, I think that's basically about it. My voice is about giving up, so it's a good thing we're running toward the end of the show here. But I think that about covers it. Ducati apparently has something coming out as well in 2020 that's going to be featured often on their bikes. So this is a technology that has moved from automobiles that's now moving toward motorcycles. And apparently there's a company called Bosch out there which supplies the vast majority of the electronics to the world's motorcycle makers. And it's developing an off-the-shelf system of its own that manufactures for its manufacturer's clients. So
cool.
So you'll be able to, adopt that into, and it'll actually configure. So coming down the road, there's going to be some things that you might be able to add to your bike, is what it sounds like. And technology just keeps getting better and better and better.
Right.
So now you got to think about how Harley's going to integrate with their GPS system and all the things that they have on there.
Sure.
And so now, just that I've got some facts out, and you might want to research it on your own, but that's just with a little bit of research that I had. At first, when I saw the headline and it was talking about, you've got this group riding base control, I'm thinking, no, that just doesn't sound like fun. It just, no, I'm not going to use that because, number one, I like to, do my own thing.
Right.
But as I read more about it and I got to thinking about it, it's going to work perfect for particularly on long and straight roads. So,
right.
Just imagine like when we're riding our groups, like when we're going up north, when we're just sitting on their highway, that would be a great way.
Perfect.
I mean, I know most of those guys put it on cruise control anyway.
Right.
The nice about this thing is going to be the adaptive cruise control. And one of the things that I failed to mention is that Harley actually came up with an invention last year that automatically applies braking.
Huh, that's
so
pretty
you
cool.
know where this is going. One day, you're just going to be able to get on the bike and ride. Here's the cool thing I was thinking. They might be able to develop it in such a way that it becomes a safer motorcycle to help you avoid accidents in the future.
Great
so
thought.
there might be some technology coming. I'm sure there is down the road.
Sure.
That's going to be developed to where it's going to help you actually maybe avoid accidents and things like that.
Right.
I mean, with what's going on and what's out there these days, it's amazing. It blows my mind.
It is amazing. And so, for me, the one thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that highway because I kept thinking the back roads, sometimes target fixation is one of those things that we really struggle with. And if I now am kind of a hands off my motorcycle in that group riding aspect, would it lend itself, especially in those, quieter, lower paced, an opportunity maybe to have more of that target fixation happen? But I think the highway, you're right. Those long trips on the highway in a group, that's a perfect place for something like that, a tool like that.
Can you imagine this huge
Pack.
formation of these bikes, like the pack
just
going down, and they're all moving in unison?
Right.
It's just will be too cool and a sight to see. So
it will.
So there you go. There's some news we've got to cut out real quick. We'll be right back. Stay tuned because we've got what next, Deb?
We've got some great stuff coming with tips from Rider Coach Deb.
All right. You want to stay tuned for Rider Coach Deb. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Chuck with the Chuck-n-Deb Show. If you'd like to be a sponsor on our show, please contact us at 216-7625. That's 216-ROCK. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
If you're looking to either sell or buy a home in the Bradenton, North River area, contact Deb Bell to help make your dreams come true at Reynolds Realty. Call Deb Bell, 941-713-5035. That's 941-713-5035 or online at parishfl.com. For all of your real estate needs, call Deb Bell.
All right, we are back. Thanks for staying tuned. We appreciate that. Staying tuned, that is.
Yes, staying
All right,
tuned.
real quick, Deb. we got a message the other day from Becky, and Becky wanted to know what kind of bikes we ride.
Wow. Well, that's a great. Thanks, Becky, for asking that question. We are actually both Harley-Davidson riders, and my favorite, I'll just kind of kickstart that. And my favorite right now is, I call him Bourbon, and Bourbon is an '07 Springer Softail CVO, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's got a nice center of gravity, and I love riding Bourbon. A little stretched, but so I've got to make some adjustments personally, but I love Bourbon. What do you ride, Chuck?
I ride an '04 Harley Dyna Wide Glide.
Yep. And so what's do you have a motorcycle name?
Yep, Thumper. That's my Thumper.
Yep.
I also call it Thumper the Mighty Machine. Because Thumper is the Mighty Machine. And then we also have a Sporty as well. It's a 1997 Sporty. And
we have an '03 Anniversary Edition Softail Standard. And so I've done lots of good riding on that one too. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I just cannot ride Thumper. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, you can't. Oh, the only reason you can't ride Thumper is because the clutch is too tight.
The clutch is tight.
All right, Deb. So let's turn it over and get started with Rider Coach Deb.
All right. So today we're going to talk about tips from the road with Rider Coach Deb. And for those who may not know, I am actually a Motorcycle Safety Foundation State of Florida certified rider coach, and I do teach for Harley-Davidson, currently with Rossiter's Harley-Davidson. So if you're looking to learn how to ride, be sure and reach out to Rossiter's Harley-Davidson. They're great, obviously a great dealership, but also have a great program, great school, and I'm honored to be able to be called one of their
Deb,
coaches.
Let me say, it doesn't matter where you're located. No matter where you are in the world, you can fly here, stay the night. We'll show you around. If you come out of town just to take one of Deb's classes, we'll figure out a way to show you the town.
Absolutely. We'll take you for a ride, show you everything you want. So actually, I have a friend that's in Canada, and she said when she's ready to learn, she wants to learn how to ride, she's going to come on down to our local area in Florida and learn how to ride from Deb. So I think that's pretty cool.
Get on with it.
So today I want to talk about turns and curves. Those can, I've read a lot of posts on Facebook in some of the women's groups, and, women that are newer riders, that's one of their little apprehensions is turns and curves for the first time. And so obviously most of us go to destinations for riding that are in the mountain areas because it's absolutely beautiful.
Something different than straight.
Yes. Yeah. And so absolutely it can be intimidating. You're not quite sure. Then the rain kicks in. Well, in a riding world, one thing for turns that they talk about, or I talk about too as a rider coach, is the concept of slow, look, press, and roll. And so you're slowing as you get into the turn. You're looking where you want to go, and that could be a whole nother conversation all day long. And then as you're in the cornering in that curve, you're pressing and rolling on. So you're throttling on through that curve, and that's the coolest part, I think. But one tricky component to stopping is stopping in a curve. And again, if you're pressing and rolling on through that curve and all of a sudden an animal comes out, or there's something in the roadway that could be dangerous and you'll need to swerve and or make a choice to stop, that's always a little bit of a tricky situation to kind of maneuver through. So I wanted to be sure we talked about it because as a rider, you've got two choices at that point. You can gradually slow and stop while you're in the curve, or if you need to stop a little more quickly, you can choose to straighten up the motorcycle and apply both brakes quickly and stop more fast. That's not good language, but you get what I'm saying. You can stop more quickly if you straighten the motorcycle up. So how does that all happen? Because again, most of us are concerned with that handlebar turned, how that motorcycle may actually fall over.
Well, that's what I'm asking right now, because you're telling me that if I'm on a curve and something happens, that I should apply both brakes.
Gradually, very gently.
Good.
So that's the key. If you're in that curve, is very gently, slowly applying more pressure to come to a stop in the curve.
Because you're probably going to cover this because the front brake's going to do something, isn't it?
Well, no, not necessarily.
Now,
it could. If too much pressure is applied, it could
the front
lock
brake,
up.
from what I understand, and I'd have to...
Yep.
Anyway,
let's
go ahead. You're the rider coach.
No,
go
let's...
ahead. Just finish your deal.
So those are the two options, really, is to gradually slow in the curve, and it is a very gradual stopping process. And like I said, if it's immediate, if all of a sudden something darts out, then the easiest, quickest way to stop in that turn or curve is to straighten that motorcycle and apply both brakes with the same amount of pressure as quickly as you can. Did you have anything to add or want to talk about that at all? So I just wanted to be sure and bring that up from Rider Coach Deb, because curves are something in our summer months and our fall months. We look forward to that type of riding in a little bit of a cooler weather and getting up in those mountainous areas. And that's something that can be a little bit more tricky. And again, I hear some of the newer riders a little bit concerned about that, how to stop if this happens while you're in a curve. And so I just wanted to be sure and talk about that.
Okay, so go over it again. It's slow.
Well, as you're going into the turn, it's slow, look, press, and roll.
Slow, look,
press and roll.
What's the press?
You're pressing on your hand grips and or your foot pegs in order to lean that motorcycle into the curve. So that's your pressing in the direction in which you want to go.
Now, is the slow, the very first one, is that a requirement?
Well, you need to get the motorcycle to a speed that you're comfortable going into the curve. So if you don't need to slow, then just roll.
Roll. Can you roll all the way through it?
Oh,
actually,
gosh,
there's
you can.
a certain feel to it. You know,
there is a feel
me.
to it. Yeah, but I do too.
Because a lot of times I actually roll into it.
Yeah, I know you do. We roll really different when it comes to that.
Do.
I slow. Look, I get my comfort entry speed that I'm really happy with, and then when I'm there, I'm comfortable and I'm rolling. I'm going.
Yeah.
Yep. So everybody has a different way, but that's a teaching tip from Coach Deb. So I wanted to make sure we did
Coach Deb.
Rider Coach Deb stuff today. And moving on from there, I wanted to talk about a little bit of history. And this segment is history in the making for this week. So one of the great history tips I found came from Harley Davidson back in 2009. This was kind of new to me.
It's a history tip?
It's a history lesson, I guess. So
something on history.
Something
this
on
day
history,
in history
for motorcycling.
Right,
yep, absolutely. So Harley Davidson introduced a motorcycle called the Crossbones Softail. Now, I don't know that I've ever heard that word before. I may have heard someone call their motorcycle a Crossbones, but I didn't really know what that meant. And this is actually Harley Davidson's version of what they called a Bob Factory Custom. Again, 10 years ago, 2009, they introduced this. Now, if you see a picture of it, it may look familiar because it has this wide sweeping vintage handlebars. It has a black spoked wheel and headlamp shell. So that black look, kind of a little bit of a blacked out look. Spring single saddle seat. So where would you think that in history we've seen that saddle seat? Some of the old bobber styles from the old war days. So it has a semicircular footboard, not called a footrest.
A footboard.
Footboard,
I think they're
right?
still called that.
They are. And then pre-war authentic bobber look. So it had that unique pre-war look to them that had a Springer front end suspension and a Softail rear suspension. So kind of a little bit of a hybrid of a couple of different things. And it was equipped with their twin cam 1584cc, which gave it plenty of power to get it up and going. Kind of a raw motorcycle bike as well. But I thought that was a cool thing in history to make sure that we talked about before we wrap it all up.
Sounds great. Well, good job on all that.
Yeah.
And, we'll have to find out what it's going to be like to slow into a curve.
Slow, look, press, and roll. You might want to give it a shot.
And the look thing is a big one.
It's a huge one.
I think out of that whole thing, the look thing is huge.
Well, we'll talk about
you look behind you, right? That's when you're...
No, yes, not. That's not where you look. We'll talk about looking, riding, all that stuff, because it is a very important aspect of motorcycling. So I think early on you had mentioned that we had we met someone that we were reading a book Really?
Oh, yeah. We're not going to give you the name of the book. I just finished it over this last weekend, thanks to the rain.
Yes, thank you.
So I was able to plow through it. I started reading this book, and I couldn't put it down as much as I tried. I would have to take little breaks. So I'd set the book down, and then I'd come right back down to it. But we're going to get the author of this book on with us. We're going to be scheduling the time real soon, and you're going to want to stay tuned, and you're going to want to hear this interview because this gentleman's got a lot of information he can share with you, and he's written a book that's fiction, but it is a very, very good book, and we want to make sure that we turn our audience onto it because it's about motorcycling, and it's about actually being in an MC.
Yes.
So I'm going to save some of the things that I have to say about it till we have the interview because it's had a major impact on me, as I think it will you too. So stay tuned. That's coming, and we have some other friends of ours that are also that we're going to schedule to interview with them. So we've got some great people
great
that
biker
you're going to
life
meet.
People to bring
That's
to
right.
you that do it all in a very different way.
So stay tuned with that.
We want to be sure that you stay tuned, and if you subscribe, you will be sure that you never miss any of our episodes. And so to wrap things up, we want to thank you for joining us today. Be sure and follow the Chuck-n-Deb Show on Facebook and join the Biker Life group. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and listen to the Chuck-n-Deb Show on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to subscribe so that you do not miss a show, and visit us on chuckanddebshow.com. And Deb.
And thanks for listening.
Thank
Catch
you
next
for listening
week.
and being tuned in.
You've been listening to the Chuck-n-Deb Show, heard each Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. right here on 1490 AM WWPR. We thank you for listening, and we invite you to join us next week. If you're looking to either sell or buy a home in the Bradenton, North River area, contact Deb Bell to help make your dreams come true at Reynolds Realty. Call Deb Bell, 941-713-5035. That's 941-713-5035, or online at parishfl.com. For all of your real estate needs, call Deb Bell.
Hi, this is Chuck with the Chuck-n-Deb Show. If you'd like to be a sponsor on our show, please contact us at 216-7625. That's 216-ROCK. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. You've been listening to the Chuck-n-Deb Show, as featured on 1490 WWPR AM. Visit them online at chuckanddebshow.com.